everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for tuning in for the first in a series of 4 videos that I'm really excited to get to. This is going to be my top 100 cards. And I'm going to try to keep the intro to a minimum here because I have a lot to get through. But in essence, these are just my favorite 100 cards that I've shown on my YouTube channel, all the way through episode 800, which nicely was posted on December 31st of last year. So I wrapped up the year with video number 800, and looking back across those 800 episodes, these are the 100 cards that I thought were the most notable, my favorites. I ranked them. I spent a lot of time going through this exercise and I had a blast. So we're gonna do these in 4 chunks of 25 cards apiece. So in today's video, we're gonna cover cards number 100 through card 76. And we start with card 100, a great 90s classic here, featuring Ken Griffey Jr. It's the 97 Skybox EX 2000. And this is a base card, believe it or not. You can see some great foil action here. You've got an acetate see-through element in the middle of the card. And of course, I chose this because Ken Griffey Jr. was the titan of the hobby and the game kind of in the early to mid 90s when I was collecting as a kid collector. So I put him on my hobby Mount Rushmore, Ken Griffey Jr., and he's someone we'll see once or even twice more as the countdown continues. But in this case, this really gorgeous, perfectly 1990s card. This is a base card that really showcases, kind of the wild techniques that companies were bringing to the hobby in the 90s in an effort to outdo each other. And yeah, this base card barely makes the list at number 100. And the last time that I did this countdown, which I'm now updating, was late 2022. And this card was at number 78 in that countdown. So it slid all the way down to number 100 here, which is a sign of good things to come. So we start off with that nice Griffey. In slot 99, this is a vintage baseball card now from 1973 Topps. It's card number 1 on the checklist, the all-time home run leaders. And this one makes the list for a couple reasons. Number 1, I don't have a playing era Babe Ruth. Maybe someday I would love to acquire one. Absolutely would be a dream card, but for now, this is going to be the only appearance of the Babe in the countdown, and it also features Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, so you can't go wrong with that. Those 2 guys you are going to see featured again as we make our way through the top 100. But lastly, I just love the home run chase and the appeal of the home run chase, whether it's career home run or a single season. And we're going to touch more on both of those as the countdown progresses. But for now, this vintage home run leaders featuring 3 of the best players ever to swing the bat comes in at card number 99. All right, number 98, we have a parallel that I love from Upper Deck. It is the Exclusives parallel. These go back over 20 years and they're always serial numbered to 100 from Upper Deck. And they did them in multiple sports. And believe it or not, in number 98 slot here, this is going to be the only football card in the 100 card countdown from 2006 Upper Deck. It is the Exclusives Tom Brady. And you can see the serial numbering here, copy 23 of 100. Great shot of Brady behind the line, calling an audible or calling the play here. And if I was going to have one football card in the countdown, it was going to be Tom Brady. I live in New England. Maybe that's, some bias showing through here, but in my estimation, he's the greatest quarterback ever to play the game and arguably the greatest player ever to play the game. And so wanted to get the GOAT in my countdown. And this is a sneaky tough parallel. Brady obviously has huge hobby demand, and anything numbered to, 100 from this relatively early on in his career is going to be a tough card to land. And you can tell how tough it is because I had to pick it up in a BGS slab, which there are very few of here on the countdown. But, I don't really care what protective case this is in. This is just a great football card at number 98. Next up, we have our first hockey card. Baseball and hockey are definitely going to dominate the countdown for the most part. And this is a very appropriate card for slot number 97 because it features number 97, Connor McDavid, the most dynamic and explosive player on ice over the last few seasons. I still think he is present day in the NHL, and his Oilers are on fire this year, playing some really good team hockey. This is his second year card, and it's the same exclusives parallel that we just saw for Tom Brady, numbered to 100. So I think that is awesome. If you've gone after these or you collect hockey cards, you'll know just what a kind of a monster McDavid card this is. Even though it's not a rookie, doesn't matter to me. It's an extremely difficult card, and I'm just honored to own one of the 100 copies of it. Yeah, on the not a rookie theme, I looked over the list at the end of composing it here, and less than 1/3 of the cards in my top 100 are rookie cards. So I found that interesting. Next up, slot number 96. We're going back to vintage baseball, which really dominates the countdown in terms of eras. It's the 1951 Bowman Bob Feller. And this is a fantastic card. Picked this up within the last year. And it's definitely a sign of things to come, because 1951 Bowman has really quickly moving up the ranks in terms of, being a favorite set of mine over the last calendar year. And so we're going to see a handful of 51 Bowmans in this countdown, most, if not all of which were not even in my collection at all the last time that I did this. So that's pretty fantastic. Love this feller, and obviously he was one of the best pitchers of his era. And the only reason this one isn't higher is just because there's some really amazing stuff that just bumped it a little further down. But a well-centered 51 feller in slot number 96. Next up, number 95, we have Hank Aaron. He's going to be featured again. He was on the Babe Ruth card, and this is going to be his first solo card in the countdown, but he's one of my favorite players to collect, so we'll certainly be seeing him as things progress. But the first one is the 1965 Topps issue in a PSA 4. And the main reason, I couldn't put every Hank Aaron that I have on this list because I'm limited to 100 cards. I collect a wide variety of subjects, and I didn't want the countdown to be dominated too much by Hank Aaron. But this 65 barely squeaked in at number 95 just because of the condition that it's in. This is a PSA 4, but look at that card. I love everything about this, the centering. This is an example of me taking my time and finding the perfect example for my collection. So had to include that one. Number 94 next. And this is going to be the one and only Xander Bogaerts card in the countdown, his 2014 Topps Chrome Rookie. This is the gold refractor, the Topps Chrome True Gold, numbered to 50. Really big card if you're a Bogaerts fan. Obviously, Topps Chrome Gold is one of the most desirable parallels year in and year out. And if you can get a player's rookie card in Topps Chrome Gold, it's pretty spectacular. So this is one of the nicer Xander cards in my collection. Last time I did the countdown in 2022, he had like 3 or 4 cards on the countdown. This time, this is it. And he barely made it at that in slot 94. It's no offense to Xander. He was a favorite player of mine for 10 years, but he's moved on to the Padres. And I guess as with the passage of time, your interests just change a little bit. And this one slid down, but still made the cut. Next up, number 93, we have a combo card from the 1960s. It's one of my favorites. I love combo cards. There's going to be a couple of them on the countdown. And in this first installment, we have a beautiful 1968 Topps Superstars with Harmon Killebrew, Willie Mays, and Mickey Mantle. The condition of this card is crazy too in a PSA 7. I would not buy this card in this grade nowadays. I bought this many, many years ago, probably a dozen years ago or longer. You can tell by the really old PSA flip here. But I mean, that is one of the best combos you're going to find on a baseball card from the 60s. You've got 2 of the best, of the era in Mays and Mantle, and then another 500 home run guy in Harmon Killebrew. So just amazing to think the number of, the amount of career stats that are represented on this card. So I always loved that one. Great photo, and clearly an easy choice for my top 100 at slot number 93. Next up, number 92, one of just a small handful of soccer cards in the countdown. This guy is, I think, the most promising, or one of the 2 most promising young players, I should say, on the globe. Erling Haaland. He is now with Manchester City in the Premier League, but this is his Topps Chrome rookie card from the 2019 Topps Chrome Bundesliga set. And this is viewed as his true rookie. This is not the refractor or anything crazy. It's just a base card, but they didn't make a million of these. It's not, it wasn't the most popular set at the time, and certainly the hobby hadn't exploded the way it has since. So this is a really, really good card. I'm grateful to have one. Just honored to have this in my collection. He continues to just dominate the pitch in the Premier League and otherwise, and he's got a long future ahead, and that's a key soccer rookie to have. All right, we're down to number 91. It's a vintage Ted Williams card, the 1955 Topps issue. Just a great, beautiful, colorful card here. I love the yellow. I love that classic, red sock logo. You cannot go wrong with the Splendid Splinter. I mean, any playing era Ted Williams card is just kind of mind-blowing to me that I could even have it in my collection. And this is another one that I've had for quite a while, and it slid down the list a little bit since the last countdown, mainly because there's one other Ted Williams card we'll see higher up that kind of bumped this one down a little bit and changed my mind on it, but I still love the card. And for any card to make this top 100 is really saying something with all the years that I've been at it in the hobby here. So there's your number 91. Coming in at number 90, we have already our second Connor McDavid card. I did put some effort in while thinking through this list into trying to be diverse to the extent that I could. I didn't want any one player to dominate, but there are a few guys who got multiple cards, and McDavid being a favorite current NHL star of mine, this was an easy choice. But this is a cool card. It's the Upper Deck game jersey from 2016, which was his second year. So just like the last McDavid we saw, this is not a rookie. It's a second-year card. But the language on the back of this indicates that it's a game-used jersey card, and it came out at the beginning of his second season. And so logic would tell you that this piece of jersey was not only worn by Connor McDavid during an NHL game, but was worn during an NHL game in his rookie season. And so I think this is the type of card that has kind of sneaky potential. I paid around $30 for this card not that long ago, maybe a few months to a year ago. And to me, down the line, as he continues to have the career that he's having, and knowing kind of what this card signifies, I could see this becoming a much bigger deal than it is, and maybe being much higher in the list than number 90 in future countdowns. All right, we're into the 80s now. Slot 89 is going to be one I picked up just this past year, and really, really love this. It was on my 50 for 2023 list that I had made. It's the second year Joe Morgan from 1966 Topps. I just love the image here, and that 1960s All-Star Rookie Trophy is priceless. I prefer this card to his multiplayer rookie card, which is also the case for at least one other card we're going to see from the 60s later in the countdown, but just awesome. I mean, arguably, according to some, the best second baseman of all time, and someone who, I know he's very polarizing, but I always enjoyed his color commentary on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball growing up. He was kind of the voice of baseball for me on Sunday evenings in the summer, and for all those reasons, plus the sharpness of this lowly PSA 4.5, this one made the cut. Maybe an unlikely candidate, but card that I felt belonged on my list. It's not expensive at all, but it's a great card. All right, now at number 88, we have vintage hockey, and it's a rookie card of one of the best ever, Marcel Dion, on the 1971 O-Pee-Chee release, 71-72. Has that great bubble lettering for the team name, and this one is like perfectly centered. It took me a long time to find this. The way you judge centering, at least left to right on these, is the edge of this blue circle, and you can see right about where that crests, you got just about the same amount of white space on the left and right border of the card. So this is an immaculately centered copy of this card, which is not easy if you've ever chased this one. And while he's not a household name, which is kind of a crying shame, I feel like, with young hockey fans these days, or people that just casually know hockey, he's one of the greatest ever. This guy is number 6 in career goals and number 6 in career points. And so that's a pretty impressive rookie card to have, and not a terribly difficult one to obtain, although it's really difficult to find one this well centered. So Marcel Dion rookie card, number 88. Down to number 87, we've got a Mickey Mantle solo card here, which is something that'll be a theme. I don't have as many mantles as I used to. I've sold a couple, and I'm no longer trying to complete a full run of Mickey Mantle because there are just other cards I want more. But I do love this 1962 Topps. This is one that I picked up within the last year as well. So it meets my eye appeal test for great centering and very vivid, beautiful color. And of course, this was Mick's third and final MVP season as well. And so for all those reasons, this one was a clear-cut choice to make the list. You really can't go wrong with any playing era Mickey Mantle card, so just honored to have that. Moving back to hockey now for number 86. It's a huge card from the 2010s. It's the Prism Silver Alex Ovechkin from the 2013-14 Prism hockey release. Check out the etching and just insane shine on this card. This is the one and only standalone Prism hockey set that Panini did before they lost their license to produce NHL trading cards. And these silvers are a big deal. You would only get one or two per box, and that could be a base card or an insert. They paralleled everything in silver, and so finding any one player is just really, really difficult. The supply has completely dried up over the last 10 years, especially on these big name players like this. And I'm just honored to have, or grateful to have, even one of these. And another card that I actually wanted so badly, and is tough enough to get, that I had to land it in this BGS slab. So second BGS slab in today's portion of the countdown. I don't think we're going to see too many more of those. Moving up to number 85 now, I have the one basketball card that we're going to see in the countdown. And this was on the prior version of the countdown as well. It's just one of my favorite cards, even though I don't get a ton into basketball. From the 1970 Topps release, this is the Wilt Chamberlain Tallboy card. So that year and the year prior, Topps did Tallboy, which for me, there's no sport more appropriate to do Tallboy cards for than basketball, and especially a center like Wilt Chamberlain, who is just incredibly tall. This is a very fitting card. Love the layout of this. You can see the LA Lakers purple and yellow here. Love the basketball theme for the design, and that headband, just classic shot. This is another one that I got years back when it was a little bit cheaper probably than it goes for now. Although as I understand it, the basketball market has kind of crashed some. So maybe that's once again a pretty attainable card. I'm really not sure. But there's our one basketball card for this portion of the countdown. And I think our only basketball card in the countdown period. So Wilt Chamberlain representing the sport of b-ball. Next up, we're in the number 84 slot now. And it's the great one, Wayne Gretzky, best player ever to lace up skates. And this is his second year card from O-Pee-Chee in a PSA 7.5, just beautifully centered. Really took my time finding this particular copy. And I think this is a huge card. Obviously, everybody focuses on his rookie card, and rightfully so, but he's one of the players, the best to ever play. And with players of that magnitude, I feel like their second year cards are usually pretty desirable as well. Especially, in some cases where folks can't afford the rookie or whatever the case may be. But just a great photograph, epic card that you don't really see talked about all that much. At least I don't. But I really, really enjoy this one. And Topps in 1980 did that terrible scratch-off, like lotto ticket design on the puck. But with this being an O-Pee-Chee card, this is just how the card looked right out of the pack. They were smart enough up in Canada not to even mess with that. And that was a failure from Topps. That was a one and done in 1980. So I went with the O-Pee-Chee version of that second year Wayne Gretzky in slot 84. And then from one second year card to another, slot number 83 is a second year card of another absolute hobby favorite of mine, the great Nolan Ryan. Probably my first baseball or sports card hero. In the spring of 1990. I've talked about it many times, and I will again later in this countdown, but Nolan Ryan, I became a fan of him when I was 7 years old and had no idea, even why I should be a fan of him, but I just knew he was good because of the 90 Topps baseball set, and many, many years later, more than 30 years later, finally tracked down his second year card, which is his first solo card. Just beautiful. Love the image, and of course, 1969 is the year of the Miracle Mets, which makes this one really, really cool as well. So awesome card to own. It was really tough to find this one as well centered as this copy is. It took me a long time 1969 Topps is kind of brutal when it comes to centering, so we're going to take down the top 100 card sign. I think you know what this is at this point, 20 minutes into the video. Getting there on today's portion of 25, just a small handful of cards left to go here. Up to slot 82, back to hockey for a minute here in the 1980s. One of the most iconic hockey cards of the 1980s, Brett Hull's rookie from 1988-89 Topps. Kind of a weird image, so that's mainly the reason this one isn't a lot higher up on the list, but this card was like, there was so much buzz regarding this man's career and this rookie card in the early 90s that if you weren't collecting hockey at the time, it would be hard to even comprehend. Sort of like the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. Although there's one hockey card that reminds me even more of that we'll see later in the countdown. But this one was right there. I mean, Brett, he exploded onto the scene. He was the son of a Hall of Famer, Bobby Hull. So he had the genes, just like Ken Griffey Jr., coming in son of a successful player. And he lit the league on fire. He had 3 straight 70-goal seasons, which is insane, including, I think he had an 86-goal campaign in 1990, which is still, to this day, the 3rd highest goal total of all time, with the first 2 season totals belonging to Wayne Gretzky on that list. So this guy scored more goals in a season than anyone, not named Wayne Gretzky. So really important hockey rookie card there. And again, one that, at least for a long time, was not a very expensive card. So Brett Hull. Moving up to number 81, and it's Hank Aaron again. Not for the first time in this episode and not for the last time in this countdown. In this case, his 1956 Topps issue. And apologies for this silly case here that has PSA over the card. I'll be replacing this one after today's video with a nice, clean, superior fit sleeve. But let's focus on the card itself. It is just an absolute, like a stunner. I did a video on this when I acquired it, but it's like close to perfect centering, pretty much perfect top to bottom and near perfect left to right. Just a gorgeous card. Probably the best looking PSA 2 I have ever seen of this card. Or I don't mind saying that. I'm sure there's a nicer one out there. Someone will probably point it out in the comments, but for me, this is perfection. 3rd year card of a childhood hero of mine and possibly the best ever to play. He's certainly in the argument alongside Willie Mays and a few others, but just a gorgeous, gorgeous Hank Aaron card. So love that one in slot number 81. And rounding out the 80s in slot 80, we have one that made the list really purely based on aesthetics. And, there's a number of reasons a card could make this countdown as I was going through this exercise. And yeah, in this case, it's just gorgeous. So in slot 80, it is the T207 brown background Jack Barry. Just because I view this card as like cardboard art. I learned about this card thanks to YouTube. Just another example of YouTube bettering my collection and participating in this community, being a great learning experience. I believe it was my buddy Doug over at DK Cardboard where I first saw a video that featured this, and I just, instantly fell in love with this. I knew I wanted to add one to the collection. I added a saved search right away, and it took almost a year before I finally landed this copy in a PSA 3. And this is just, another example of like, it's not all about monetary value. As pre-war cards go, tobacco era cards, this is really, really cheap. Like, I think I got this for around $50 within the last year. And obviously, mammoth names like Ty Cobb and Christy Mathewson, they're going to cost you thousands of dollars. But you can still play in the pre-war sandbox on a much smaller budget if you just adjust your criteria a little bit. So, this guy may not have had the career that Ty Cobb did, but he has a beautiful looking tobacco card. And he is an interesting man in his own right. Not going to get into it in today's video since we're already approaching 25 minutes. Into the 70s now at slot 79, and it's going to be another epic 80s hockey card. Really love the 1980s, the decade when it comes to ice hockey. And this is a rookie card that you should see talked about more often. The great Ray Bourque from 1980-81 Topps hockey. And here you can get an idea of what I was talking about with that silly scratch off effect. So this, just like the Wayne Gretzky that we saw earlier, this card does have Ray Bourque written beneath that puck, but you need to scratch it off with a coin or something to be able to tell who it is. And because of that, they wanted it to be, I guess, kind of like a game for kids to play to learn about the sport. You actually don't get the athlete's name on the back of the card because that would give it away. They don't want to give you a hint. So the idea was, could you guess who this is just by seeing the photo? And then after you make your guess, he would scratch off the puck and confirm or deny your suspicion. So kind of a cheesy gimmick by Topps, but love this Ray Bourque card. Just a legend here in New England and one of the best defensemen ever to play the game. Certainly one of the best offensively minded defensemen ever to play the game, and just a Boston Bruins legend. His number 77 retired in Beantown. So awesome, sneaky good rookie card there of Ray Bourque. All right, 3 cards left, and we'll call this first installment done. Slot number 78. This one is as much about the story of acquiring the card as it is the actual card. It's the 2014 Topps Update Mookie Betts, but it's the short print image variation where he's smiling in the dugout. This is a very, very difficult card to acquire. And what's great about it is I pulled this from a $5 Walgreens repack. This was back, must have been 8 or 9 years ago now. And I couldn't believe my eyes. It was just one of those 100 cards for $5, just in a brick. This card was just loose in there. It was actually in really good shape. And it immediately went into a one-touch where it's resided ever since. Betts is one of the most talented players of this generation and a great guy that I love collecting. So we're going to see more Mookie as the countdown progresses, but had to include this one just because it's clearly, by a country mile, the best card that I've ever pulled from one of those cheesy repack deals. So great Mookie Betts there. Number 77, this is a card that I suspect a lot of people may have ranked higher. And maybe I'll catch a little flack in the comments for not ranking it higher myself. But it's where I ended up putting it. The 1934 Diamond Stars Lefty Grove. Just, a premier pitcher of his era in the 1930s. And a really nice card for a Red Sox fan like myself to have. Also love the Diamond Stars set. Shout out to my buddy Dan at Old Sarge Collects, who completed the entire set and who has a much nicer looking copy than this. But as PSA 1s go, this is a pretty nice Lefty Grove. I stand by it. For those that don't know, this kind of wear on his baseball cap here, that's not an issue with my card. That's just how the actual painting looks. So overall, pretty strong colors and a nice example here of a card that would be difficult for me to afford if it was not in a 1. So pretty pleased with that. And again, one that I suspect some people might put higher in the list, but for me, this is where it fell this time around as I went through the exercise up in the upper 70s. And then the last card for this first installment, number 76, it is the 2017-18 Upper Deck Sidney Crosby, and it's the Upper Deck exclusives, that same parallel numbered to 100 that we've seen of Tom Brady and Connor McDavid in this video. Chose this because it is my favorite photograph on any Sidney Crosby hockey card. He's one of the best. He's still getting it done, having an amazing year this year in his age 36 campaign. He's won it all as a teammate and a captain, and his individual stats have just piled up. He's got all the hardware you could want at every level of his career. He will be remembered as one of the best ever to play the game, and so I'm just ecstatic to have one of the 100 copies of this one. Another very sneaky, difficult card that you just do not see pop up often. And yeah, I know at least one other buddy of mine in the hobby that has a copy, so not a lot of these out there to be scooped up. And I think this is the only Sidney Crosby to make the countdown of 100 cards. So that's going to be number 76 and the final card for this first video of 4. I'm having a blast getting through these. If you enjoyed this group of 25, it's obviously only going to get better from here. This is a really fun exercise to do, and I hope you'll tune in next video for cards number 75 through 51. But in the meantime, I appreciate your time, and I hope you're enjoying the hobby. Take care.